Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers. In 2014, two young women from the Netherlands traveled to Panama in search of adventure and a deeper connection with nature. Their names were Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers. What was meant to be a dream trip would later become one of the most unsettling mysteries in the region. Lisanne and Kris were in their early 20s. They met at university, moved in together after graduating, and worked at a small cafe while saving for a 6-week journey through Central America. They wanted to experience new cultures and learn Spanish before returning home. In March of that year, they arrived in Panama. After traveling through the country, they reached the quiet town of Bajo Boquete, surrounded by mountains and dense jungle. There, they stayed with a local family and planned to remain for a month. On April 1st, around 11 a.m., the two set out on a hike through the cloud forests near the Baru volcano. The trail was known as El Pianista, a popular and well-marked route. They even shared their plans online before starting the walk. After that, everything changed. The messages to their families stopped. A trail that normally took only a few hours was enough for Lisanne and Kris to vanish without a trace. The next morning, they failed to show up for a scheduled meeting with a local guide, triggering an intense search involving local authorities and international teams. Days passed, then weeks, with no clear answers. 10 weeks later, a blue backpack was found near a riverbank. Inside were their personal belongings, 2 mobile phones and a camera. Instead of providing clarity, these items deepened the mystery. The phones showed multiple attempts to reach emergency services, all unsuccessful. One device eventually stopped working entirely, while the other was turned on sporadically, as if someone was searching for a signal. The camera told a silent story. Hundreds of photos showed ordinary moments at first: paths, landscapes, and the young women exploring. But then came the images taken during the early hours of April 8th. Nearly 90 photos were taken with flash, in complete darkness, deep within the jungle. They were not composed or deliberate. They were erratic, fragmented, more like attempts to see than to capture a memory. Branches, rocks, wet ground, darkness. No faces, no explanations. Just brief bursts of light cutting through the night. Why take so many photos in the dark? Were they trying to illuminate their surroundings? To signal for help? Or reacting to something they could not see? Some believe the camera was being used like a flashlight, suggesting tension, awareness, and fear. Whatever was happening, it was not a peaceful night. Later, search efforts led to the discovery of remains. They were confirmed to belong to Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers. The official explanation suggests they became disoriented in a difficult and unfamiliar environment. Yet other theories persist. Some claim the women may have met local individuals the night before their hike, and that what followed was not simply an accident. Over time, several people loosely connected to the case lost their lives under unclear circumstances, adding to the unease surrounding the story. To this day, the fate of Lisanne and Kris remains unresolved. A quiet warning about how quickly the familiar can turn unknown, and how the jungle of Boquete still holds secrets it has never fully revealed. Kendrick Johnson. On January 12, 2013, inside the gymnasium of Lowndes High School in Valdosta, Georgia, the body of a 17-year-old student was discovered. He was found inside a vertically rolled-up gym mat. His name was Kendrick Johnson. Kendrick was described as a quiet, shy teenager with a calm personality. He played basketball and was known for staying out of trouble. According to his family and classmates, he had no known enemies or ongoing conflicts that would suggest he was in danger. 2 days earlier, on January 10, 2013, Kendrick was supposed to attend a basketball game at his school. For that reason, his parents expected him to return home later than usual. However, that night, Kendrick never came back. That same day, his parents began searching for him. They went to places he usually visited: friends' houses, nearby parks, and the school itself. Their efforts brought no answers. The following day, police joined the search, also without success. It was not until a day later that the discovery was made. A group of students entered the gym to participate in sports activities. As they attempted to use one of the rolled-up mats, they noticed a pair of socks sticking out and a strong, unusual odor. Upon closer inspection, they realized the socks were on the feet of a lifeless body. When authorities arrived at the scene, they confirmed that the body belonged to Kendrick Johnson. The official autopsy concluded that Kendrick died from positional asphyxia, and the death was ruled accidental. According to investigators, Kendrick may have fallen into the mat while trying to retrieve a shoe and was unable to get out. 3 students told investigators that it was common for students to store their shoes behind or underneath the rolled-up gym mats. Kendrick was not wearing shoes when he was found, which authorities cited as supporting evidence for their conclusion. However, Kendrick's family was never convinced by this explanation. After the autopsy, it was discovered that several of Kendrick's organs were missing. Authorities stated this was due to standard procedures during the handling and transport of the body, but for the family, this detail only raised more questions. In November 2013, Kendrick's family obtained surveillance footage from the school. The recordings show Kendrick entering the gym shortly before his death. However, the footage covering the hours that followed was missing and could not be recovered. The case of Kendrick Johnson continues to raise doubts. Could this truly have been an accident? Why were the crucial hours of surveillance footage missing? Why were there irregularities in the handling of his body? Officially, the case was closed as an accidental death. But the inconsistencies, gaps in the evidence, and unanswered questions have led many to wonder whether the full truth was ever revealed. A case that, to this day, remains surrounded by uncertainty and silence. Kayelyn Louder. On September 27, 2014, Kayelyn Louder was last seen on security camera footage from the parking lot of the apartment complex where she lived. In the video, she's walking barefoot in the rain while walking her dog. She appears to be alone. No one else can be seen with her. Moments later, she exits the frame. Hours later, around 7 p.m., the cameras captured her again. This time, Kayelyn is running through the trees in the parking area. Her dog is no longer with her. Her movements appear rushed and uncoordinated, as if she were trying to escape from something, or someone that cannot be seen. According to her family, Kayelyn was a kind-hearted woman. She worked as a social worker and had a deep love for animals, especially dogs and horses. She was outgoing and found it easy to make friends. She had a twin brother named Colton. As a teenager, Kayelyn's life was deeply affected by a traumatic event. Her twin brother killed a close family member during an episode believed to have involved severe paranoia linked to substance use. Colton was sent to prison, and the incident left a lasting mark on Kayelyn. Years later, Colton was released on parole, but eventually returned to prison after violating its conditions. He claimed that someone was constantly following and threatening him, and that returning to prison felt safer. These claims were never proven. Despite everything, Kayelyn tried to move forward with her life. However, in the months leading up to her disappearance, when she was 30 years old, her family noticed changes in her behavior. She became withdrawn, sad, and distant. At the time, they believed it was a difficult phase she would overcome. Shortly before she vanished, Kayelyn began making calls to 911. In one call, she reported a fight at a wedding she was later found to have never attended. The most concerning call came on September 27, 2014, when she told Utah authorities that someone had broken into her apartment. When police arrived, Kayelyn appeared calmer and physically unharmed. There were no signs of forced entry or evidence that anyone else had been inside. She explained that she believed someone had been there and felt unsafe. Officers left, assuming it had been a misunderstanding or a moment of fear. They never imagined it would be the last time they would see her alive. Hours later, Kayelyn made a third call, again claiming that someone was inside her apartment. In the background, a friend can be heard urging her to think clearly, insisting that it was impossible for anyone to be there. Kayelyn insisted that she was hearing voices and was convinced someone was there to harm her. In the days that followed, Kayelyn stopped contacting her family. After repeated unanswered calls, her relatives reported her missing. Authorities then reviewed the parking lot surveillance footage and noticed her erratic behavior. It was later determined that as she ran, Kayelyn dropped her keys, her wallet, and her dog's leash. Her dog was later found only a short distance from the apartment complex. No one was seen chasing her in the footage. 2 months later, the case took an unexpected turn. Kayelyn Louder's body was found in a river approximately 5 kilometers from her apartment. The autopsy provided few answers. There were no signs of physical assault and no evidence of alcohol or substance use that could explain her behavior. Kayelyn's family believes she may have been harmed by another person. Authorities, however, considered a different possibility. A review of her 911 call history revealed similar reports made months earlier, in which Kayelyn claimed someone was trying to enter her apartment, incidents that could never be confirmed. This theory was further supported in the eyes of investigators by the history of her twin brother, whose own erratic behavior had led to imprisonment. Authorities suggested Kayelyn may have been experiencing a psychological crisis. Her family firmly rejected this explanation, stating that Kayelyn had never been diagnosed with any mental health condition. To this day, no one has been able to fully explain what truly happened. The footage of Kayelyn walking barefoot in the rain and later running alone through the parking lot, leaving her dog behind, remains one of the most disturbing elements of the case. There are no clear answers, only questions, and a final escape that no one has been able to understand.